If you notice, it's a porous or a non-porous surface here, just, countertop, nice smooth white countertop. And I'm going to make a 16-inch pizza here. This is a dark pan. Make sure you're aware of the impact of the dark color. If you have a lighter colored pan, you're less likely to burn the crust. So this can cook really well, but you got to be careful. You might want to move it up a little bit in the oven so that you don't have a burnt crust on the bottom. The top can be deceiving, but this works. I like this pan. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use extra virgin olive oil. Just kidding. I'm going to use cheap spray. I'm going to spray the pan and just set it over here as my guide. And also, the floor is slightly squeaky here, so I'm not only am I bugging my neighbors, but I might be bugging you, so I apologize. Now, I'm going to take the same spray. I'm going to spray my countertop. Now, every pizza recipe you've seen says use a lot of flour. We're not going to do that. We're just going to, because remember earlier we put some olive oil in here. So we're just going to turn this bag inside out, and I'm going to dump it right there, right here on my counter. See, it doesn't stick. Works really great. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm just going to mold this thing. It's really easy. You can pick it up. You can move it around. It's just really a wonderful dough to work with. If you want to get technical, you can try this stuff, but I'm not good at that, so I'm not going to do it and embarrass myself. And it's the only dough ball I have that's thawed. You're going to kind of work it to a certain point close to what you're looking for, and don't push too much in the center. That's what causes it to leak in the middle. Don't mess with the center. Leave the center nice and thick. Otherwise, you risk a breach of dough security. All right. Now, I'm going to take this. I'm going to bring our pan in here. And we are going to continue our process to make it fit the size of the pan. And it really works well. If you have, you can make your own dough. Now, I will make my own pizza dough in a bread machine that my mom gave me. And you can just use the standard recipe that comes with the bread machine. And it's typical dough. Or you can buy it, or you can buy it frozen. You can do whatever you want to do. Pizza dough is pizza dough. If you buy frozen dough or you make it fresh, there's a difference, I guess. I don't know. But one of the keys is if you get a frozen dough ball, if you let it sit, or even if you make it, if you let it sit in the fridge overnight, you're going to get a better pizza dough the next day. But they're all different. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You can just study what other people do. So this is pretty much done, right? And I didn't use any flour. I just used some oil. That's my dough there. Now we're going to take our sauce. One thing I do, sometimes this is dirty on top, so I'll just flip it over and use the bottom. And another thing I'll do, sometimes my can opener will catch, but I've got a little gap here. And when I say can opener will catch, it'll catch this label and leave residue of the label in the food product, which is not what I want to do. So I'm just going to I'm going to get this little guy here. And we're going to open up this can of this is just run-of-the-mill standard tomato sauce. Right there. Now, you really don't need this much sauce, but I'm going to go ahead and put the whole thing on just because I'm going to waste it otherwise. But again, you could make 2 pizzas with this can of sauce if you wanted. Let's go ahead and get a nice big spoon. And let's spread this out here. This is the base of the pizza, tomato and bread. And this already smells like tomato and bread. The lights are making it a little hotter, or making the smells a little stronger than perhaps they otherwise would be. But this, it's just typical stuff here. Hunt sauce. I don't know why they don't call it tomato sauce. It just says Hunt sauce, but that's what it is. Now, we've got the sauce down. Now we got to cut up some veggies. So let's figure out how to do that. We're going to take this, and we're going to take this out of the way. Right over here. This is a great big cutting board I got at Sam's Club, which is a pretty good source for some restaurant equipment. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chop up some basil. So we're going to take our basil leaves, just like this. Again, I got these in the little container right here. And then I washed them, I patted them dry. We're just going to pick these things off, like this so. I'm going to chop these babies up in just a second. Boy, this smells good. This is serious fresh herbs. Don't forget, you want to use like 3 times as many herbs if you're going to use the fresh ones. You can also, to save money, you can just buy basil, in a container. That works just as well. Probably, I don't know. I'm just going all out. I don't need this quite yet. I'm going to use this knife right here. I'm just going to get this here. And these are good knives here. I'm just going to chop this basil up. I'm not going to chop it up as well as it would come out of a can, but this is kind of a rustic pizza. We're just going to experiment. That's what I do a lot. I just experiment. I go through the store and I say this will be good. This was actually inspired by a really good pizza at Target, the spinach and goat cheese pizza. Now, I've done that, but the problem with goat cheese, it's hard to slice. I need to freeze it a little more and then slice it, but you tend to get a little bit too much. It's pronounced, so I'm doing it with feta this time so that I'm not overwhelmed with these giant chunks of goat cheese. I made it for a friend of mine who said, this is good, but it's too much. It should be crumbled or something. So, all right, we've got this. Now let's bring our pizza back. Let's go ahead and put our basil down there. Just not perfect, Just kind of throw it on there. But tomato sauce, tomato and basil are the keys, the key ingredients, and then you can do garlic and whatever else you want to do. So that is the base of the pizza right there. Right now we just have tomato and basil. Set that to the side. Now we're going to take some cheese. And again, this was frozen, right? Because I buy the big bag to save money. And then I put them in little sandwich bags. And less is more, in my opinion. I mean, if you're in Chicago and you want to do a deep dish, that's fine. But you don't need a whole lot of cheese, because remember, we're going to put feta, which is real strong cheese. I'm going to put about half this. This is probably about a pound. I'm going to put about 8 ounces. So right now we got a pound dough. We've got a can of sauce, which is, what is this? So we got a pound and a half with the sauce, 8 ounces of sauce. So 1.5, and then I've got a couple ounces of the basil. I'm going to put a half pound here. So we're still under 2 pounds of total pizza. Just kind of spread it out nicely here. Again, not too much. I want to put some onions on here, but onions can be overpowering. So, all right, there we go. That's about half this bag. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to chop up some fresh spinach. Now I'm going to leave the leftover spinach for a salad for later. Not for tonight, but whenever. Unlike the basil, this is allegedly pre-washed, ready to go, so I'm sure I trust them. I'm just going to throw this on here. Some spinach. Let's give this a good chop here. This chop's a little easier than the basil does. Maybe it's because it's drier. This is a Japanese style or Chinese, I don't know, Asian style, I guess is safe. Pretty big area. Knife. At Sam's Club they sell the traditional chef's knife, which I have also, but I like this one. It's shorter, and you got more balance. With a longer knife, you kind of, I don't know, just, I like this one. So I'm kind of on a, I guess whatever the newest one is you prefer. So I think that'll work. I might, if I have more time, I might chop a little more, but that'll work. So we're bringing our pizza back here, and we're going to put our spinach all over this puppy. The spinach was like $2, $2.50, $3, I forget. The basil was $2.28 or something. The cheese, I got about, I don't know, $1's worth of cheese on there. This is the expensive stuff here. This is feta. This was, I don't know, $3 maybe. And I don't even know if we're going to use it all, but boy, that's a pungent smell. Really good stuff. It's almost, it's very similar to goat cheese. Of course, traditional feta in Greece. I used to live in Greece for a couple of years. Probably would be from goats. A lot of the things, you know, food is regional, obviously. But if you think about it, here in the United States, we have cows everywhere. We have lots of land, so you can raise cows and do it affordably, whereas overseas, that's not the case. And so you see certain countries where lamb is very common, whereas it might be expensive here, it's cheap there, and beef is cheaper here and expensive over there. So I'm going to leave this, and then I think I'll leave some of this feta left over for my salad to go with the rest of the spinach for tomorrow. Now, so far, we have tomato sauce, basil, we have mozzarella, and then some spinach, and some feta cheese. Now for a little flavor, I'm going to top it off with some red pepper. One thing, I'm going to put the spices at the end. I'm not going to mix them in the sauce or anything like that, because then you tend to use too much. That's why like a soup will have really high sodium, whereas if you made it without the sodium and then you simply topped it with some fresh ground sea salt or regular salt, whatever, you'd probably get, you know, a similar effect without using so much, because when it's on top of the product, it touches your tongue and you feel the flavor, and I think you can get by with less and get a good effect. So that's just a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of crushed red pepper, and there you have our pizza. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cook it up. And let me give you a good look at it before I cook it. This is really good stuff. Look at that. Oh my goodness. That is our spinach and feta cheese pizza. So we'll put it in the oven and we'll pull it out and we'll see what it tastes like, or what it looks like anyway.